day 3, and what a stunning day it is. And I thought it'd be quite cool just to tell you a bit more about where we are and a bit of the history behind the Q Station Hotel. You've guessed it, it used to be the quarantine station for when migrants would come to Australia back in the day. So you would effectively arrive on a boat over that way, you come to the end of the dock here, and 3 things would happen to you. You would walk to the end of the pier, you'd register, and then if there were reports of anyone being sick on your boat, you would effectively get marched over that way somewhere where they have a bunch of showers and they strip you down, burn all your clothes, hose you down, and then you'd then get taken up into one of the quarantine rooms, which is in fact the room that I'm staying in. Or if you were critically ill, you would actually be sent to the hospital, which is up that way. And if you were a criminal, you'd actually be locked up in the jail, which I believe is that building over there. So I can think of worse places to be right now, but I think back in the day it probably would have been pretty intimidating.
That is the circle of belief systems.
Here we are at the end of day 3, another day full of notes. So today was the second day of the Living Leader, and again, talking about within the context of leadership, we were specifically talking about taking responsibility and understanding responsibility, and the difference between what's common sense but not common practice. And there's a big difference, because you look at something objectively and you go, oh my god, that's common sense, but then you go, do I do it? Probably not. So one quote that I really liked from that session was, we can only control what you give, you can't control what you get. So what that means is I can control my reaction to things, I can control what I say to people, I can control what I do about certain situations and how I'm going to affect change or be a change maker, but I cannot affect how someone will feel, how someone will respond, and how someone will act as a result of my actions. So I thought that was really, really important, because a lot of the time we care about how people will respond, right? We do it all the time, but you can't always do that. So it's I felt that was really, really powerful. And as a part of that as well, we were talking about like the stimulus or the trigger and then the response, but then the gap between the two is what you have control of. So I do it myself sometimes. If I get an email from a certain person at a certain tone, I tend to react in a certain way, and I go, oh man, fuck that guy or whatever. But really you can actually go, stop, is this the way I'm interpreting this? Is this actually, does this reflect reality? And then how might I act differently to get a different emotional response from this? So I thought that was super profound, because the amount of times you look at something and go, oh fuck, or you get a call from your boss and your heart rate starts going up and you go, actually they're not calling to tell you off, they might be calling to update you on something, they might be calling you to congratulate you in some instances. So don't always assume the worst. What else did we learn today? We learned a lot about belief systems and challenging belief systems, and how you can become a prisoner of your belief systems, which I thought was really fascinating. If you believe that you aren't good enough to do something, if you keep reaffirming that, that will actually become the truth. So what we were learning today were different exercises around how you can have more positive thoughts, not toxic positivity, but positivity towards just your trajectory, and then knowing that you're heading in the right direction, reaffirming that, and then eventually getting the results that you deserve. That said, on the flip side, there are times where you're totally allowed to feel or grieve, and that's okay, as long as it's not, if someone's passed away, you can't just go, oh my god, they had such a good life, blah blah blah. You're totally allowed to grieve, and I think that's what's important, making sure that you're not just sugarcoating everything, but you're actually being pragmatic in the way that you respond to something. What else did we learn today? We learned a lot about perception, so specifically between behaviors, so certain acts that you do, but then the way you're perceived and the way that you perceive yourself and the way that you act, and they're all kind of different things, right? To give you an example, I once worked at a company where the CEO walked around with his AirPods in, just looking down at the ground, and everyone was super intimidated by him. But there was one time actually, I ended up coincidentally in a cab with him to a meeting, and I was shitting myself. I'm like, oh man, this guy's super unapproachable. Whereas in reality, he was lovely, and I actually mentioned to him, and I said, listen, I was actually super intimidated by you, and and I've actually really had a good conversation. And he was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He was just like, really, is that how I come across? And I said, I know it's kind of a potential career limiting moment, but I'm glad I said something, because ever since then, as soon as he would arrive at the doorstep of work, he'd take his AirPods out and go from there. So super rewarding. What was the last thing that we learned about today? Yes, and then lastly, we talked about life balance, not work-life balance, but life balance. And we had to do an exercise where we basically audited our time invested, awake time invested in different activities. So work, sleep, chores, self-development, hanging out with friends, all kinds of things like that. And you had to have a percentage of that and be brutally honest about what those are. And some of those actually mixed between the two. So you really need to separate it properly. For example, spending quality time with my partner could be the same as watching TV, but it isn't, because you're watching TV, you're not actually engaging with them. So it was quite eye-opening for me to just go, oh my God, I need to just completely revamp this. I mean, you get a report every week, right, from your iPhone that tells you how much time you spent on your phone. So it's important just to, try and decrease that and have intention with your time. And one thing we talked about was the difference between maintenance tasks, so repetitive tasks that need to happen every week, and development tasks, which give you, not empowerment's not the right word, but make you feel fulfilled. So the idea being is that you want to lower your maintenance tasks and increase your development tasks. And that was it. Oh, well, now that the filming for today is done, we are gonna head out to dinner and get a cheeky Mexican. But the weather's not great, but that's okay.